She did everything they told her to do. She didn't spend recklessly. She didn't chase rewards. She didn't live beyond her means. She used her credit cards carefully, almost perfectly. Every payment was on time. Most of them were early. Her balances stayed low. Her utilization never crossed the safe line, and her credit score reflected that. Excellent. That number gave her comfort. It made her feel protected, like the system was finally on her side. But what she didn't know was this. That same behavior was quietly changing how the system saw her. At first, nothing felt wrong. Her accounts were open. Her score stayed high. Her statements looked clean. From the outside, everything was working. And that's exactly why she didn't notice the shift. Because the credit system doesn't announce its concerns. It observes. She had learned the rules early. Don't max out your cards. Pay more than the minimum. Never miss a due date. So she followed them, month after month, year after year. Her financial life became predictable, orderly, controlled. And predictability, she believed, was safety. But the system was measuring something else. Not discipline, not responsibility, behavior, patterns, trends, and most importantly, trajectory. She wasn't increasing her usage. She wasn't revolving balances for long. She wasn't applying for new products. From her perspective, that meant stability. From the system's perspective, it meant something very different. It meant she was slowing down. One morning, she noticed a small change, a notification she almost ignored. Her credit limit had been adjusted. Lower. Not by much, just enough to notice. There was no explanation, no warning, no missed payment to justify it. She assumed it was temporary. Banks make mistakes, she thought. But mistakes don't happen quietly. Systems do. She checked her credit score. Still excellent. That confused her, because everything she had been taught said those two things should move together. They didn't. And that was the first real crack. What she didn't realize was that the score she could see wasn't the score being used. Behind the scenes, every lender maintained something else. An internal profile, a behavioral assessment, a private risk model, and none of it was visible to her. She continued as usual. Paid early, kept balances low, stayed responsible. But the signals coming from her behavior were changing. Not because she was doing something wrong, but because she was doing less. Here's the part no one explains. Credit systems are not built to reward completion. They are built to sustain engagement. And every month she reduced her dependence, her value shifted. Quietly. A few weeks later, another change. A promotional email she used to receive stopped arriving. Pre-approved offers disappeared. Nothing dramatic, just absence. And absence is easy to dismiss, until it isn't. She applied for a small credit increase, something routine, something she had qualified for before. The response wasn't a rejection. It was worse. Application under review. No timeline, no clarity, just waiting. Waiting does something to people. It makes them doubt themselves. It makes them question decisions that once felt right. And that's how control works now. Not through denial, through uncertainty. She called customer support. The voice on the other end was polite, calm, uninvolved. "There's nothing wrong with your account," they said. "This decision is system-generated." System-generated. A phrase designed to end conversations. She hung up feeling unsettled. Not angry, just confused. Because confusion keeps people compliant. She began paying attention more closely. Small patterns emerged. Limits adjusted. Offers withdrawn. Silence where there used to be access. But her score stayed high. That was the cruelest part. The number told her everything was fine. Reality did not. She searched for answers. Articles. forums, advice columns. Most of them repeated the same rules she had already followed: pay on time, keep utilization low, be responsible. She had done all of that. So why did it feel like the doors were closing? Because the system wasn't reacting to her score, it was reacting to her trajectory, and her trajectory pointed toward independence. This is the moment most people never see, the moment where doing better starts looking like risk. Because a person who needs less credit is harder to predict, harder to monetize, harder to control. She hadn't failed the system. She had outgrown part of it. And systems don't reward exits. They flag them. At night, she started thinking differently. Not about money, about how quietly power operates. No confrontation, no rejection, just gradual withdrawal. She hadn't lost anything yet, but she could feel it. Something had shifted, and the system was no longer responding the same way. At first, she tried to ignore it. Not because she didn't notice what was happening, but because noticing it would mean admitting something was wrong. And nothing felt obviously wrong. There were no warning letters, no aggressive calls, no red alerts. Just quiet adjustments. The kind that don't demand your attention, but slowly change your position without asking. She told herself it was temporary. Banks adjust things all the time. Algorithms recalibrate, systems fluctuate. That's what she told herself, because believing that was easier than questioning the structure she had trusted for years. She decided to wait. And waiting, she learned, was part of the system too. Weeks passed. Her score remained excellent. That number, calm, reassuring, unchanged, stood in sharp contrast to what she was experiencing. And that contradiction started to eat at her. Because everything she had been taught said, if your score is high, you're safe. But she didn't feel safe. She felt paused. She tried to do what most people do when something feels off. She adjusted her behavior. She used her cards a little more, carried small balances a bit longer, let interest accumulate. Not because she needed to, but because she wanted to look active again, engaged, visible. That's when she realized something deeply unsettling. The credit system noticed changes instantly, but it didn't forgive them. Once her profile shifted, it didn't snap back into place. It stayed cautious, like trust, once questioned, never fully returns. Here's what most people never see. The credit system does not work in moments. It works in patterns. And patterns, once broken, redefine how you are categorized. Her category had changed. She was no longer the ideal revolving user. She was something else, something harder to define. And anything hard to define becomes risk. She began reading deeper. Not the advice articles, not the blogs, the fine print, the parts written for lawyers and analysts. The language was sterile, emotionless, but the meaning was clear. Risk is not about failure. Risk is about unpredictability. She had assumed responsibility was the goal. It wasn't. The goal was consistency, not improvement, not completion, continuation. That realization changed how she saw everything. Her early payments, her decreasing balances, her lack of dependency. All of it looked different now. Not like success, but like detachment. And detachment is dangerous to systems built on cycles. The system wasn't angry with her. It wasn't disappointed. It was simply adjusting its exposure, quietly, mathematically. without emotion. She thought about how strange that was, how a system designed to measure trust never actually trusted anyone, only behavior, and only as long as that behavior remained useful. She remembered the first time she got approved for credit, how empowering it felt, how grown up, how validating. Back then, access felt like freedom. Now she understood it was leverage. Access wasn't given because she was responsible, it was given because she was predictable. And predictability, she now saw, was the real currency. She noticed something else, too. The system never told her she was doing something wrong. It never corrected her. It simply responded less. That silence was deliberate, because silence forces self-correction. When people don't know what they did wrong, they try harder, they comply more, they stay engaged. And engagement is exactly what the system wants. But she didn't try harder. She stepped back. And that, more than anything else, confirmed the system's assessment. She wasn't desperate. She wasn't dependent. She wasn't reacting emotionally. She was observing. And observers are the most dangerous participants of all. At night, she replayed the timeline, not to blame herself, but to understand the sequence. Nothing had gone wrong suddenly. There was no single mistake, no turning point she could isolate, just a gradual divergence. She realized something most people never do. The system didn't punish her for being irresponsible. It flagged her for becoming independent. Independence looks like uncertainty. Uncertainty looks like risk. And risk is managed by distance. The system didn't push her out. It stepped away. She understood now why so many people stay stuck, why they keep balances open, why they revolve small debts, why they stay just dependent enough. Not because they're careless, but because leaving the loop carries consequences no one explains. She thought about how polite the system is, how clean, how invisible its pressure feels. No threats, no ultimatums, just subtle rearrangements. And then it hit her. The system doesn't need your permission. It doesn't need your agreement. It only needs your participation. And once participation slows, the system adapts. She stopped trying to fix her profile, stopped trying to optimize, because optimization only works inside the rules, and she finally saw the rules clearly. Her credit score remained high, but her relevance declined, and relevance, she now understood, is what actually determines access. Nothing dramatic happened in the end. No collapse, no crisis, just a shift in awareness. And awareness changes how you move through systems forever. She didn't feel angry, she felt informed. And informed people behave differently. They stop chasing approval. They stop mistaking permission for safety. She understood now. The system never promised protection, only alignment. And alignment is temporary. She had done everything right, and that was never the guarantee she thought it was. Nothing was taken from her. The system simply adjusted its distance. And that distance told her everything she needed to know.